Hi, this is Module 3, Voice 101, and we're going to talk about posture. How does posture affect your singing? Well, it increases your breath capacity because you need as much air as possible to sing well. Helps you get a lower, deeper breath. Helps you get to the end of a phrase without tension. Good posture helps release tension once it becomes a habit. And it allows air to flow freely through the vocal cords. So here's the thing about the spine. You have 3 curves in the spine and they form an S. The first one is the cervical curve just below the base of the head. The second one is the thoracic curve at the largest part of the back and shoulder blades. It's in alignment with your chest. The third one is the lumbar curve in the small of the back just above the hips. If any of this S curve is overly exaggerated, it can pull the body out of alignment. How do I know if my posture is right? Well, notice the ears. The shoulders and the hips are all lined up. This is an indication that the body is in alignment. So how do I stand properly, you may ask? Bear your weight primarily on the balls of your feet. Keep your knees slightly bent. Keep your feet about shoulder width apart. Let your arms hang naturally down the sides of your body. Stand straight and tall with your shoulders pulled backwards. Now make sure the pelvis is tilted just slightly forward. How to practice good posture. Stand against a wall with your heels and back of your head against the wall. No, not like that. Do the Garcia position. That's coming up in the next video. Put a book on your head and see if it stays. If not, ask yourself why. What's out of alignment? There's the introduction to posture. End of Module 3.
Hey everybody, how you doing? So I want to talk to you a little bit about posture. Posture for singing specifically. Now you've seen a few things about posture. Now you know how many vertebrae you have and you know about the curvature of the spine. You're probably going, what does this have to do with singing? I sit in my chair and my teacher says, sit with your backs up straight or stand up, you'll have better posture. And I don't really get it. Well, so I'm here to explain that for you. The thing about it is your body is meant to be in a certain alignment so that organs, things like breathing, your rib cage, even the larynx can sit correctly in the body without too much stress or strain. And when stress and strain happens, muscles begin to take over, and that's why sometimes you're like sore and you don't know why, or sometimes you may have like what I call smartphone hand, or your hand aches a little bit. It's because you've held it in this way, or you've held your body in this way. And I can always tell who's really big into their iPhone or in their phone, their Android, whatever, and sits on a computer or a game all day because the posture of the neck begins like this, comes out forward. Now I'm short. I don't like being short. I would rather be tall. I'd rather be 6 feet tall, right? But I'm not. I'm like almost 5'3". And the thing about being short is everybody around you seems so much taller, and you really work at being tall, and you stand up, try to really stand up straight, and you pull up from here, and you try to hold your head in a certain way. And while that's great and it helps me with my posture for singing, the opposite is true of people who are generally tall, especially girls. Anyway, So you want to really try to stand up straight. You want the shoulders to fall at the body naturally. And you want those curvatures. Let's talk about the 3 curvatures. You have 3 curvatures of the spine. You have where your neck curves. So let's say that's the bottom of your head. There's your neck. Then you have the thoracic curve. Then you have the lumbar curve. I am not an artist. I did not major in art. So this is where the bottom of the skull meets the spine. Cervical curve. Cervical curve. Then you know that part of the back that sort of goes this way, it goes outward, it curves in this way, it goes this way, where your shoulders would be. That is your thoracic curve. Then you have the small. Then you have the small of your back, and that goes inward, and that's your lumbar. It sits right at the top of the hips. So you want those curvatures, and you want to be as tall, standing as tall as you can, but you do not want the neck this way, right? You want ears right above the shoulders, and you want those curves to feel not tight. It should feel relaxed when you're in that posture of allowing those curves to happen naturally.
Just listen.
So put those ears right above the shoulders. Get your knees and legs, hip width apart. Think about the fact that you don't want to be locked, because what happens when you lock and sing? You faint, or you get dizzy or feel lightheaded. You need to allow blood flow. Don't forget that. So maybe one foot out in front of the other, or one knee a little bit bent. But you want to be sure you're in good alignment. You don't want to feel like you're in soldier posture. You want to feel like you're relaxed here. The shoulders are down. My ears, again, right over my shoulder. Not here, not here, and not here. No tucked chins. But also not this. See boys who sing like this when they start going through a voice change? This pulls on the larynx. You want the larynx to just hang naturally from that hyoid bone. You're going to learn about the hyoid bone in one of our other modules. I won't talk about it now. And then you want to feel like your knees. Remember, in the video that you watched, there's that straight line. Imagine that straight line going from the base of the skull all the way down, and that the knees are in alignment and the feet are in alignment with the hip bones right here. So bend the knee a little bit if you want to. If you feel like you might faint, and keep them supple but not locked backwards. This allows you to get good breath so those inner and extracostal muscles can work, because the rib cage is attached to that spine. It's attached to those vertebrae. They're attached in the back, and then you have lots of connective tissue. So ligament, muscular tissue are all attached to the spine that come and wrap around, so that when you take that breath for singing, notice how my rib cage went out? But if I'm here, that's so much harder. I can't get that kind of expansion in my rib cage. I need to be in good alignment, good spinal alignment. I also don't want to do this. This pulls my spine out of alignment also. I want to have my breath low, which we'll talk also about later. But you have to start with posture. And that's why we've started it in our second module, is so that you have the good base for what you're going to try to do when you try to be a really good singer. So, I hope you like this module, And I hope you've learned a lot about your spine and help your grandma stand up straight, or grandpa. Okay, happy singing. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce our singers in our classroom, our virtual classroom to you. They'll each give you their first name so that when we talk about it later, you'll know who I'm talking about. So,
I'm Jane.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Tori. I'm Ashley.
I'm Chris.
and I'm Dr. Bernardini. So, in the conversation about posture, anything you didn't know?
I didn't really know about the three sort of positions that you said, the lumbar.
The three curves, the cervical, the thoracic, and the lumbar. Yeah. Yeah, we don't think about it as having, but it's kind of an S, that S curve. And sometimes when you are an advanced singer, you think about having that less of an S, but really it should be an S, right? Not too tall, not too board-like, but having some flexibility in the back is important. Anything else anybody didn't realize or know?
I'll go. So I know for me, like I struggled with a lot of neck and jaw tension, and I've always kind of wondered why is that happening. I'm trying to breathe really well, and I don't understand why. And you know, we talk about in voice lessons how where a lot of that comes from is my posture, and I'm trying to lead with my chin, and instead of bringing it out, I need to bring it in and make sure it's all in alignment.
Yeah, it's a really common mistake is to think, well, I'm singing to these people, so I want to lead here because this makes me feel more expressive, right? Especially if I'm used to theater and you do a lot of musical theater, and to think to be here makes me more expressive, but actually that can really build into that ongoing tension and jaw tension that you feel later and struggle with, because it gets very tiring, doesn't it? It's really quite exhausting. And it doesn't feel exhausting in the moment, but then when you're done singing, you experience what?
Like almost like headaches because I've been using this so much.
Right, having that jaw. So one of the things you can do if you have felt that through your singing is, or you're feeling that, is to stop, think about the ears being over the shoulders, and rub right here in those two big jaw muscles. Just everybody rub that for a minute. Do you feel tenderness and soreness in it? I know I do. I also know that I tend to not grind my teeth, but pull, what do you call it? Like clench my jaw at night, or when I'm sort of in the midst of something frustrating. I tend to clench my jaw a little bit, and so this can get really tired and really sore. So it's good to, also a really great exercise to help to let go of some of that jaw tension and get rid of some jaw pressure is to just move it from side to side. And if it feels a little jerky, then it's because you've got some tightness and some tension there. So the idea is to think about, like, if you've ever watched a cow chew, just kind of chew. It's really, that helps release some of that tension. Everybody chew a little bit. Do you feel a little popping or clicking? Anybody? So that popping and clicking can be a sign of a little bit of TMJ. And if you don't know what TMJ is, you should look it up. I'm not going to try to spell it. But it's really common in young girls. Super common in young girls. So you want to just kind of move that jaw back and forth and get some relaxation going. Also this. Everybody do that. Now see, that just automatically begins to release and relax that voice and the face and the jaw, right? And the lips start to feel kind of a little more relaxed. Just relaxing. Yeah. Anybody else?
I tend to lock my knees a lot, and I didn't realize how much that affected posture.
Locking your knees. Okay, so I have a really horrible story. I also have a cold. So I'm gonna do everything I tell you not to do. Don't clear your throat, don't cough a lot, but I'm gonna need to do that today. I used to be a choir director for a high school and once had someone on the back row during a competition lock their knees and fainted. And when they did, they went like this because they felt it coming on, right? And took the whole back row with them. So you don't want to lock your knees for a long time because it cuts off circulation and then you can faint. I had a boy student do that once in a lesson with me, and she was about 6'2", and I'm not that. And I thought for sure that she was going to hit her head, tried to save her, and instead she landed on me, and I had to wait till she woke up. So you do not want to, thank you for that, you do not want to lock your knees while you're trying to practice. Be sure that they're supple, right, and that you have at least one bent, and shift your weight a little bit at times. Do not have them lock back because then you're cutting off circulation. And if you do feel the least bit woozy and breathing for the first time really deep can make that happen as well. If you do feel that, be sure you have a chair around you that you can just sit down in. If you think, oh, I see stars in, aren't they pretty? Do not shut your eyes to look at those beautiful stars because that would be you going down. So be sure that you are thinking about how you feel. And if you feel lightheaded, sit down in that chair and try to let the moment pass. And hopefully you won't hurt yourself or hurt somebody else in the room. So yes, no, do not lock the knees. Just keep them a little bit bent and over the feet. Anything else? You raised your hand.
So I did know some of this stuff, but a lot of the time I don't know how to keep it on my mind all the time.
Right.
Do you know a good way to keep it on your mind?
Practice. Looking in the mirror a lot, asking yourself what your posture is when you look in the mirror. Sometimes I've known people who've had a really terrible posture to be given a rubber band, not by me, but by a physical therapist type who has them wear a rubber band on the wrist, and every time they catch themselves not doing the right posture, popping that rubber band, so it makes them highly aware of their. It's just kind of a reinforcement. Carl Jung would be so proud. A little bit of reinforcement to keep the body up. Ask yourself, do I feel tall today? Or do I feel less today? So I will say that if you are really used to having a terrible posture, that when you do come up and do this for a day or so, you can have some soreness associated with it because the muscles are going to try to fight what they know, and you're going to build a new kind of strength for that. And when you are building some kind of strength for anything, there can be some little tenderness, little soreness. Yep. So making everybody else aware, people around you, say, I'm trying to help my posture. Every time you see my posture fall, can you say, dude, stand up straight? Or, hey, get your posture up. It's not what you said you wanted it to be right now. Having a team helps a lot. Yep. So let's stand up and let's talk about it. Right? So we're gonna stand up and we're going to separate our feet a little bit. We're gonna try to get him right here with the shoulders. Ask yourself, look down. Are your feet about shoulder width apart? If not, separate it a little bit. Girls, this may feel really wide apart for you because it's not something we do normally, right? We don't go in the room and stand with our feet apart. Boys, it's probably going to feel a little more natural for you to do that. And then you want to find those hip bones, right where those hip bones want to be, and ask yourself, are my knees and my feet lined up there? Yep. Bend the knee a little bit. Now let's move to that small of the back and that curve that should be right there. Is it where is it? Is it back this way? Is it too far forward? Are you leaning back a little bit? Where is it? Okay, so if you feel like it's good, in fact, let's do this. Let's go back this way. Everybody go back this way. Now tuck it in. And now pull up. Just try to stand up as straight as you can. Do you feel that adjustment in it, right? Okay, now let's go the other way. Go this way with it, right? Now pull it forward, line those bones right back up with the feet. And that should be, you should have a really good, look at your neighbors. See what you think. Looks pretty good. All right, now hands up. And let's come down. And how does that feel? Okay, pretty good. This is a little tense. Just a little. Relax right here. There you go. So there's a difference between this and this, right? Be sure that those shoulders are not up towards the ears, but just simply lined up with the ears. So the ears aren't in front or in back, but that the shoulders are, everybody do this, relaxed. Now drop them. Yeah, much better. Much, much better. Feel the difference in that? And see, your shoulders can come back just a little bit more. There you go. Yeah. Another way to tell, can I use you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So another way to tell is to have somebody come, especially if you're doing this with a partner. Let's face that one.
Okay.
So here is part of that curvature, right? And here's the other one. Notice if I take my arm here and I put my palm right here, his head should naturally rest in my palm, but it's not, right? I've got 4 or 5 inches there. Now I'm going to take your head here and pull. There you go. There you go. Now it's much more like what we want. Still a little out, because here's his shoulders. And remember, we want this to be parallel with the ceiling and this to be parallel with the floor. There you go. Now come back just a little more. Yeah, I bet that feels really weird, Chris.
That's really weird.
Yeah, but it's actually correct. Everybody see how that lined that up? And did you see how he was out?
This feels very strange.
Yep, and it's gonna feel really strange. Oh, it is gonna feel really strange to you at first because you are not,
Right.
how old are you? You know, you haven't done it for 20 years, 21 years, right? You've done something very different than that. So, put your hands up over your head one more time. There you go, straighten those elbows out. Now come almost back and down. Yeah, smoke, Ashley. There you go. Now relax the shoulder. There you go, much better, much better. You tend to round here, do you know that? Yeah. Do you have a lot of back and headache or neck aches?
I had a problem a few months ago.
Okay, yeah. So, bringing that body here will probably help with that. And I know it feels strange. Yeah. But that's how it should be. So if you have a partner, ask them to do this, to do the magic test here. And to pull that there. But also you want to think about pulling up from the rib cage. Now relaxing at shoulders. So when you pull up from the rib cage, that action should feel here, not here. So pull up. There you go. There you go. And now look how much taller Chris is, right? All of a sudden, how tall are you, Chris?
5'9".
Well, see, before I would never believe that you were 5'9", but now you look definitely 5'9".
Okay.
You look taller. Yeah, and I'm always wanting to be taller, so. Awesome. Much better.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. Good. There you go. You knew it. How did you know?
Because you looked at it.
Because I looked at you, but you didn't feel it? Did you feel that?
I felt it once you look at it.
Yeah.
I actually had that problem in the choir too.
In the choir, wanting to be here? Yeah, yeah. This will really impede on the breath because you are basically scrunching the neck and the clavicular muscles, which will make you breathe way too high, I bet, if I were to guess. Haven't seen you sing, but I would say I'm going to bet that you tend to want to breathe too high because of the tension that's built up here. So relax those shoulders a little bit. Can we see what you're like from behind? Okay, so let's get a side view here. There you go. Okay, yeah. So just a little more parallel. There you go. What's your major?
I'm a high school student.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I didn't realize that. All right. Okay. So, but what do you want to do? Do you sit at a computer or a gaming console a lot?
Sometimes.
So when I sit at a computer, I tend to start to do this over time. You know, and then I get this headache, and I'm like, why is that? Oh, yeah. I've just been pulling up on my shoulders for the last 2 hours. So I'm going to bet that's something that you want to check out every time you begin to do something on the computer or whatever. And you're sitting for a while, ask yourself what this is like. Do you play another instrument?
No.
Okay, so no violin. Okay, all right. All right, good, thank you.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
can you talk about people who have flexible knees that go back, and then people who their natural posture is their hips are very, very forward? So they're structurally like this and knees go back. Have you seen that? I have.
I mean, yeah, people who tend to be double jointed or have, some joint issues, soft tissue, connective tissue issues can have a hyperextension in the knee. And again, you want to be sure that it's just a little bit supple. But I will say this about anything that we talk about in this class. There are exceptions to every rule. Any voice teacher who says, this is the way it is, and it's only this way, and if I can do it, you can do it, or we teach this traditionally, so this is how we're going to teach you, you really should rethink that teacher because, to be blunt about it, because there are always exceptions to the rule. I would not expect someone who has scoliosis, let's say, and I've had a lot of students over the years, and I have one now who has severe scoliosis. I don't teach breathing in that way to them. So if you have something like that and you contact me or message me, I can help you come up with some alternative ways to stand that won't be unduly difficult for you. So, yeah, I would say that having that person try their best to come as close to not hyperextending, because that can really send those hips out forward, right? So you want to be sure that you make them aware that even though they can do that, it still needs to be flexible in the knees. We want to be flexible in the body. Period. No matter what we're doing, we need to be flexible. Anytime that you are in a stand straight, rigid posture with singing, no matter what, that's bad, right? Because the body has to be flexible to do that. So, I would say, what's your experience? What do you tell them?
Pretty much what you tell them. What I find is that if they tend to lock their knees more. Mm-hmm. Than people who don't have that kind of hyper flexible stance. So they tend to really lock because then they feel, I think, grounded or secure. Mm-hmm. And so I really highlight the idea of keeping those knees as relaxed as possible, which is uncomfortable, I think, sometimes for them.
Sure. And
to also concentrate on keeping the weight of their body towards the balls of their feet. That seems to help a lot. Mm-hmm. But there are always exceptions, and so, if there are students out there that have different physical manifestations of different things, you want to make sure that you always check.
Absolutely, absolutely. And certainly the most important thing is where this is lined up, right? Maybe even more so than the knees, is this part of the apparatus, part of the instrument being as lined up as possible, because this is where the larynx sits and is attached through strap muscles and tendons, and when those get out of alignment, that makes singing much more difficult, say, than being really particular about where those knees are. Yeah, optimally, we wouldn't want you grounded and balls on the floor, and I've even heard some singers talk about, and some teachers talk about, really thinking about pushing the energy through the floor, like really to be grounded. And being grounded is really great. And one of the ways that I can tell if a person is grounded or not when they're singing in my studio is sometimes when they're unaware, I might walk up and go, see, she's grounded. She did not move. If she weren't grounded and I did this, she would have stumbled, or she would have really been, I would have been able to push her. But I can't. She's grounded. And her knees are not locked back. They're pretty, I can move them here. They're pretty subtle. And she's got good curvature, and it's all lined up. My hand is right there. Super good. So by being grounded doesn't mean that you have to do anything weird with your posture. Just good posture and thinking about being grounded, and you're ready to go. You should be ready to sing. So after this module, or now in this module, at the end of this module, you should have a couple of links where some chiropractor types and a medical doctor talk about posture and talk about the body a little bit, and I'll give you some more additional information. And I think you'll find it fascinating. If you like the human body at all, you'll find, and I do, I think the physiology of our instrument is super interesting and very fascinating. And I think you'll find these two links fascinating. I highly recommend you watch them because there'll be a little something on your quizzes in regards to those two links that you will click, and it'll take you out of Blackboard. Thank you.